I am John Pond, the founder and CEO of Hope for Prisoners, and I am so glad that you have joined us tonight. We are in for an absolute treat with one of the greatest leaders, literally, in our nation is going to be joining us tonight. We need to get into that in a minute, but first we want to say hello to everyone who's joining us here at the Hope for Prisoners, Billy Walters, Center for Second Chances. Can you guys give yourselves a big, gigantic hand for being here tonight? Thank you so much. Also want to give a big shout out to the ladies out in Gene Conservation Camp. Can we give them a big, gigantic round of applause? And also to the real men inside Southern Desert Correctional Facilities. Can we give them a big, gigantic round of applause? Also want to say hello to our friends joining us from the Clark County Detention Center, the City of Las Vegas Detention Center, who's joining us around the globe on the Hope for Prisoners Facebook Live, Hope for Prisoners YouTube Live, and the Hope for Prisoners LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we give them a gigantic round of applause? Hey, so before we get going, I want to just open it up for any testimonies anybody like to share. Anybody celebrating some sobriety, somebody may have just landed a job, somebody might have just graduated on Friday, and last week was the most incredible week of your life. I'll give you the opportunity to do that right here in this room. If you are inside one of the facilities, just make your way up front, slip your hand up and share that testimony with us in this room. Go once. All right, come on, make your way up, man. Give him a hand as he walks up. And tell us, what is that testimony? What do you want to share? You got to look at the camera right there because I'm about to make you famous.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'll hold the mic.
Oh, thank you. Hey, my name is Anthony. My story's a little rough. I went to prison at 19 years old, and I did 12 straight. I came home and thought I had everything figured out. I came here right away, though. Like my 4th day home, I came right here, got in the program. They got me all the jobs in the world, got my resume together, got my bank account, got me everything. And then I went out in the world and did what I wanted to do. And then thank God I didn't violate. I'm still on paper right now, but just recently in the last month, I got my license, my car, and my plates all in the last less than 30 days.
Oh, that's awesome,
so,
man.
Yeah. It's my first ever car too, so I'm super excited. Right. I don't got no car payment, so yeah. Now I'm getting ready for the CDL school though.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about, man. Give him a round of applause. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. He said he's driving a car now and he's got plates on it. Man, that is good. Anybody else here in the room, online? Come on, step up. Tell us your name. I know your name, but I know you have $1 million smile. Look right over into the cameras and tell us what it is you want to share.
My name is Destiny, and I just gained employment.
Whoa! My goodness. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. Anybody else? We got somebody inside Nevada Department of Corrections. So if you will please step up and tell us what is that you'd like to share with us. Tell us your name and what is it you want to share. You guys
want to give a special shout out to James Ward Jr. Coming through and talking to us. You know, he was real inspirational. He taught us about dealing with our past, deciding our person, and developing our potential. That's first and foremost. And secondly, I want to give a special shout out to my woman, Imari. She just enrolled in a business trade, and you know, she's real engaged and she pays attention to the Tuesday Hudle up, and it inspired her to take a step forward in her life. So I shout her out for that. Man. And I'll shout you out, John, all the time.
Oh, yes, sir. Give him a hand for that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else before we get things underway? Because I tell you, we're in for an absolute treat. Did you? Oh, all right. We're going to come over here, and then Courtney, you want to come on up? And then you come on up, too. Look over into the camera. Oh, Lord. Come on. Don't get shy.
I am shy. Okay, so my name is Courtney. I did 6.5 years in prison. It still doesn't feel real, but I'm off of parole and I'm done.
Oh, give her a hand for that. Give her a hand. Come on up, man. See, we just love these. My goodness, you just graduated on Friday. I did. And what is that? What is that you want to share with us?
Yeah. Well, I will be starting culinary school as of tomorrow. Thanks to Hope for Prisoners. You know, the program really works. I want to give a shout out to my graduating class. I see a couple of my brothers and sisters in here. As you can see, I'm dressed as a chef. I just came from filming an episode of a TV show with the Chef Jeff Project. An acquaintance I met through Hope for Prisoners Really, I mean, the program works. If you're willing to put forth the effort, these guys will go to any means to get your dreams to come true. So shout out to Hope for Prisoners. John, thank you very much.
You're very welcome, man. Very, very proud of you, man. Very, very proud of you. All right. All right. So we go ahead and get things underway. And before I introduce the speaker, we're just going to open up in prayer. So, Father, we just come before you this evening in the name of Jesus. God, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for waking us up this morning with you in our mind and you in our heart. God, giving us another breath of life to live for you. Father, we want to thank you for every man and woman that's underneath the sound of my voice right now, Lord God. We thank you that you are huddling up here with us this evening. Father, we want to lift up our speaker to you right now, God. We thank you for everything, every gift, talent, and ability that you placed on the inside of him, Lord God. Let it be on full display, Lord God, and let his words that speak to us resonate in our spirit and motivate us to move forward in this life. We pray this prayer in the matchless name of your son, Jesus Christ. And in Jesus' name we say amen. Now I want you to look at the person next to you and say like I mean and say, get ready. No, you got to say like I mean and say, get ready. Say this is going to be good. Man, it gives me an honor and a privilege to introduce you to our speaker tonight, Mr. Shaka Senghor. Shaka Senghor is the president and creative director of Shaka Senghor, Inc. And as I indicated, he's one of the greatest leaders literally in this country. You know, when we look at people that are operating in this space, right, and those who have come after him, you know, you have to understand that we are standing on the shoulders of a giant. So Shaka was a recipient of numerous awards, including the Black Male Engagement Leadership Award, the Manchester University Innovator of the Year Award, the Ford Man of Courage Award, the Ebony Magazine 100 honoree, and the NAACP Great Expectation Awards. He was recently recognized by the Oprah Winfrey Network as a soul igniter in the inaugural class of the Super Soul 100, a dynamic group of trailblazers whose vision and life's work are bringing a higher level of consciousness to the world around them and encouraging others to do the same. If you guys would please put your hands together for Mr. Shaka Senghor. Shaka, welcome to the Huddle Up.
Man, thank y'all so much for having me. Can everybody hear me there?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, great. Wow, what some incredible testimony. So I just want to, shout out to all those incredible people who just had some groundbreaking turnarounds in their lives. And then I just want to take y'all on this little journey. So this past Saturday, I celebrated my 14th year of freedom. And the way that I spent the day was really sitting in deep meditation and contemplation in regards to what the last 14 years have meant. And the reason I spent that time is because 14 years ago, one day after my 38th birthday, I walked out of prison after serving 19 years and 7 of those years being in solitary confinement. When I was in solitary confinement, I had this moment of clarity, this breakthrough, if you will, this kind of come to Jesus moment, as we often hear, some great, incredible spiritual leaders talk about. And it was recognizing that I had the greatest opportunity in the world to turn my life around. But I had to be willing to do the work, and I had to be willing to shift the way that I thought about everything that preceded that day. And the reason I had to do some of that tough, hard work is because I grew up in the city of Detroit, hence my always present Detroit hat. This one is a little dusty because I've been sitting outside in my office. But I grew up in a household that I'm sure many of you can relate to. A household that included high levels of verbal abuse, physical abuse, you name it, I went through it. And as a 14-year-old kid, I ran away from home. And I was an honor roll scholarship student at one point. I had dreams of being a doctor, but I found myself seduced into the crack cocaine trade. And like many of you, I know y'all know this story. Within the first 6 months, childhood friend was murdered. I was robbed at gunpoint. I was beat nearly to death. But despite that, I carried on in that culture. A few years later, March 8th, 1990, I got shot multiple times standing on the corner of my block. When I got shot, I got rushed to the hospital, patched up. They took 2 bullets out, left 1 in. And something that struck me years later is I recognized that not one doctor, nurse, social worker, psychiatrist, therapist asked me how I was feeling. And so I was left at 17 years old to go back to my neighborhood carrying all of that turmoil, the paranoia, the fear, the anger, the disappointment. But what really was the most unfortunate and deep change for me was I started to create this narrative that if I ever found myself in conflict again, I would shoot first. And tragically, 16 months later, I shot and caused a man's death. I was subsequently arrested, charged with open murder, and sentenced to 17 to 40 years for second-degree murder. When I went to prison, you know, I had no idea that I can be anything other than what I had been up to that point. And I remember standing in front of the judge and thinking to myself, my life is over. When I entered prison, I was bitter. I was angry. I got into all type of trouble. My first year into prison, had my security level increased to maximum security. And I didn't realize it at that time, but it was one of the greatest blessings that I've ever experienced because I met some of the most incredible mentors to this day. And these were men who were serving time, serving life sentences. They saw something redeemable in me. And these men guided me to books. And back then trying to start a young gal of reading something deep and profound was nearly impossible. But the way that they reached me was through books like Donald Goines, Iceberg Slim, those writers who talked about the environments that I came from. A few years later, I received the second miracle. I call that first one I just told you about, my first miracle. The second miracle was a letter from this woman named Nancy. And Nancy raised David, the man's life I was responsible for taking. And Nancy wrote me this letter and she said to me, I want you to know who David was. David was a father, he was a son, he was a husband, and I loved him dearly. But despite the devastation you have caused my family and the hurt and the harm, I forgive you. And not only do I forgive you, but I love you because that's what God would do. Now, I wasn't a religious man then, nor am I a religious man now. I'm a very spiritual person. But I wasn't even emotionally mature enough to receive that blessing at that time. It took me some years, but I kept that letter and I still have that letter to this day. The third miracle happened in 1999 after I was sent to solitary confinement where I stayed for 4.5 years straight. And that also came in the form of a letter from my son. And for the parents on this call, you know, I know that this will resonate deeply with you. My son wrote me a letter and told me that his mother had told him while I was in prison. And when I got that letter, it was the most heartbreaking thing ever, as you can imagine, because I was in solitary and I had no access to a phone, just to even see how she said it to him. But that letter prompted me to begin to go on this journey. During that time, I got into philosophy and started reading, you know, all type of philosophers, Eastern philosophy, and, you know, some of the books that are named classics, Plato's Republic. And I was reading the Apology, and Socrates said the unexamined life isn't worth living. And that led to me journaling. And I highly encourage you, if you have not started journaling, I truly beg of you to start today. When you go back to wherever you're going, just take some time out and write out how you feel, what you're thinking about, what's on your mind. But start that practice, because what that practice did for me, it allowed me to go back and to look at the things that had happened in my life and to assign responsibility to where they actually should have been assigned in the first place. And it also helped me recognize that I had never completed anything. I started a lot of stuff, but never completed anything. And so I challenged myself to write a book. And not only did I challenge myself to write a book, I challenged myself to write a book in 30 days. And I wrote that first book, and it gave me the deepest sense of pride because I had finally completed something. And I went on to write a second book, and I started a third book until I fell into a bout of depression because I, for the first time, realized that I had this talent and gift and that I was in an environment where I couldn't give birth to this dream that was growing inside of me. And so I fell into this depression, and I started going back to the things that helped me break through in the first place. I started back meditating. I started practicing mindfulness. And one of the greatest lessons I realized was that if I can get through the pain of the moment, I can get through anything in my life. And so once I got through that depression, I started coming up with a plan. What do I want to happen with my work? Where do I want to go in the world? Who do I want to be? I didn't know if I was getting out of prison at that time, but what I did know is that I wanted to become a different person. And if I was going to become a different person, I had to do different things. And so I just started writing every day and journaling every day. And then when I got out of solitary, I took those books that I had handwritten and I typed them all up. And then I started sending them to people. I started sending them to publishers and rappers and you name it, I sent them out. But I didn't hear back from anybody. And that's when I realized that ultimately my dream was my responsibility. So I got a book on self-publishing, taught myself how to publish, published my first book from prison in 2008, the same year I went up for parole. I got denied that parole, and it was heartbreaking, but I also understood I wasn't a model prisoner when I was inside. And so I said, fair. They give me first pass. Following year, I go back up 2009. At this point, I had published a children's book, a novel, and I contributed to many other anthologies. I got denied again and I almost gave up because at that point I had 18 years in. And I said to myself, but I didn't know how to do anything else. I knew how to do time. But I was encouraged to go back. And in 2010, I got paroled. When I walked out of prison, I knew that I had a responsibility to community. So I came back and I started mentoring. And I was using literature as a means by which to reach young people, people who were like me, smart kids from broken homes and broken communities, but who had all the promise in the world. And that's how I ended up winning the Black Male Engagement Leadership Award. And that led to me being a fellow at MIT Media Lab. And I started a project there. It was it was not $1 million project, but that project led to me being nominated for $1 million prize called the TED Prize. And I didn't win it, but just the thought that out of a global prize, my work that was taking place at MIT Media Lab was beginning to catch on to people. And from that work, I was able to teach a class that I co-founded at the University of Michigan. That class just celebrated its 10th year. And in 2015, I got the Innovator of the Year Award for that project called the Atonement Project. It was also that year in 2015 when I was invited to Oprah Winfrey's house to sit with her for an interview, which was supposed to be 45 minutes, but we ended up talking for 3.5 hours. And I can tell you when I went into that interview, there were two things that was happening. One, I was extremely nervous because I thought about the reality that Oprah's going to want to talk to me about how I ended up in prison. And that's not always a pleasant conversation to have because I was afraid that I would be judged. And the second thing was knowing that I was carrying on my back the millions of people who are incarcerated and that I had a responsibility to represent the truth in a way that honored everybody's experience. But I can tell you, I walked away from that interview with Oprah, not just profoundly moved by her courage to interview me in a most authentic way, but her and I walked away as friends. And I continued on in that work. My book went from me selling it out of the trunk of the car to a New York Times bestseller. And then I ended up writing another book. And I continued to do this work where I traveled all over the country, even up to the White House. And I remember the first day going to the White House, getting denied. And they told me that because of my felony, they didn't want me in, even though they were inside talking about criminal justice. But fortunately, Van Jones was on the stage and he had the microphone and he told them, we shouldn't be having this conversation without Shaka. And he ended up letting me in. And I remember when I came in and seeing all the people, Ludacris was there, Angie Martinez was there, and they were standing in line waiting to meet President Obama. And I stood in that line. And just before I got to the line, he got called away. So I didn't get a chance to meet him that day. But the following year in 2018, no, actually, some months later in 2017, I got invited to go with some friends of mine to pay their respects to Valerie Jarrett, and President Obama was inside, and he wanted to meet me. And it was one of the greatest experiences in the world to meet a sitting president, even though I don't care anything about politics. But it was just like, hey, this Obama, he's the coolest president I've seen. To meet this guy. But we got a chance to meet. But one thing was wrong. I didn't have a book with me to give him. And I was like, man, I almost had to check my Detroit hustling, card, because I'm like, I always come equipped with the materials needed to sell. But the following year, I got invited to speak at my brother's keeper. The keynote speech of President Obama's kickoff of his platform program. Who would have thought that? And that's one of the questions I want you to ask yourself. Who will think that there's a life possible for you beyond where you're currently sitting at? And I can tell you, if you would have asked me that question when I was journaling, I was writing those pages, I would have said that I think anything is possible for me, because I truly believe that. And when I got out of prison, I knew I had a responsibility to live by what I believed about myself, that I can do anything in the world if I set my mind to it. I knew it was going to be tough. I knew it was going to be obstacles in the way. I knew there was a past that I had to reconcile. I knew that I had to, create a new network of people to hang out with. I had to address all the things in my family structure so that they could be clear of who I came out into society to be, so that they were better situated to support me. Because our families, they're our families. And my family, some of the coolest people you'll ever meet. They party, they're festive, they're fun. But I came home to work. And I had to get them to understand the best way to support me is to just encourage me. So I could remember the days of being out there hustling books, out at the park, nephews with me, cousins with me, because they really believed in me. And I can tell you that their belief really stemmed from my core belief. And that was the power of really thinking about, who did I want to become when I was sitting in that cell? I had all the reason in the world to give up, to not think of anything other than negativity, because I was in that cycle. Out of my 19 years in prison, I spent time in 3 different maximum securities. I was in solitary 3 different times for a total of 7 years. I accumulated 36 misconducts. I was named one of the worst of the worst. And nobody thought that I would ever get out and become the man that I am, the father that I am, the leader that I am, except for me. And so I would say to you all, no matter what is going on in your life, be willing to bet on yourself. Ask yourself, do you think you're worth more than what your circumstances are? People are going to doubt you. People are going to tell you it's not possible. People are going to say to you, hey, listen, you got a scarlet letter on you that's going to forever haunt you. And don't get me wrong. I run into stuff all the time where my felony comes up, the murder comes up, how much time I spent in prison comes up. But I don't let that define me. In fact, I've chosen to use that to encourage me to help others. In 2020, when the global pandemic hit, I had started a business, a consulting company, and all my clients basically, ended their contracts because companies weren't traveling, except for one client who actually asked me to join the company. And when I joined that company, it went from being a hotshot Silicon Valley company valued at $4 billion to a company that now has 0 revenue. And I was like, this is the perfect time for me to join it. And so I joined that company, and I helped over the next 3 years. That company evolved to now it's worth $9 billion. That's the power of belief. I was in an environment where nobody thought I would ever be in. Nobody could imagine me being in corporate America. Nobody could imagine me leading a sales team. Nobody could imagine me helping the lawyers figure out how not to ban people from employment because they got a bad report on their background check. But I was able to do that because I believed it. In that same year, during the pandemic, I got an invitation for Nas, one of the greatest artists of all time. And he asked me to be on one of his songs, a song called Composer, on that album that's behind me, King's Disease 2. And I joined Nas on that song, and that song got nominated for a Grammy. And I remember just how proud I felt to know that something that I had to say meant enough to an artist who can give me the biggest platform to say it. I had that same experience when the movie 13th was nominated for an Oscar. And I remember watching that screen and talking to my friends as we did that watch party, because I was able to be in that film that helped the broader world understand what prison systems look like in America. And so I say all of this stuff not to brag, but I think it's so important that when you have been in that environment and you get out and you do something impactful, that you really share that with people so that they can see that, listen, if anything is possible for me, it's absolutely possible for you. It can happen. Whatever your dream is, no matter how wild it is, you can accomplish it. But I will say this, there are some things you got to do. The number one thing that I had to work on for me was my attitude toward life. I knew that if I approached life as if somebody owed me something, that I would never become the person that I was capable of becoming. A second thing I really understood was the absolute power of gratitude, being thankful. So I try to find things every day to be thankful for. And it's not the obvious things like, a home and a car, I'm thankful for those things. Sometimes it's the simple things. The fact that I can go on my refrigerator and get some orange juice. The fact that I got some clean socks. I just try to wake up in that spirit of gratitude to set the tone of the day, because it reminds me that when I was in that cell, despite how hard and horrible it was, I had the greatest sense of gratitude because I had the ability to read. And I knew from being in there that was no small blessing to have. And so you can find things that you may not even be thinking about to be thankful for. And so I highly encourage you to do that. And then the other part I'll say, and then we can dive into the conversation. I'm sure John has some great questions, and I would love to talk to you all. I can't see y'all, but y'all can see me. What I would say is this, is that the work out here will be a reflection of the work in there. And what I mean by that is that as massive and as expansive as this world out here is, the world inside of you is even more magnificent. It is the greatest world you can explore. And if I promise you, if you do that hard work now, one, you won't have to do it later. But most importantly, it will set you up for the greatest level of success that's possible for you. And the reason I emphasize that is because it's easy to see somebody out here doing something that comes from where you come from and say, I want to do what that person does. But the truth of the matter, you have to find what your magic is. What is your superpower? What have you been called to do in this world? And what are you doing to prepare yourself to, follow through on that? And so I just wanted to share those words with y'all. I would love to spend more time taking your questions as opposed to talking at the screen. So I will stop from there, and hopefully John will pop in and we can have a great conversation.
Man, I am here. Can we give it up for Shaka, Senghor? Man, oh man, oh man. Now you guys understand what I tell you, that you're one of the greatest leaders literally in this country. So I'm going to open it up for some Q&A right now. Whether you're in this room, whether you're inside Nevada Department of Corrections, whether you're on Facebook Live, make sure you drop that comment in the chat. Something that Shaka has said to you this evening that's resonating with you, or perhaps it's something that he said that you would like for him to expound on. So we're going to open it up here in the room. If you're inside Nevada Department of Corrections, please make your way up. Whether you're in Casa Grande Gene Conservation Camp or the my mans in them in Southern Desert Correctional Center. Go once, going twice.
Y'all can't be shy on me.
Oh, no. We're going to go here at the Hope for Prisoners Billy Walters Center for Second Chances. If you would stand up, take a look at the camera right there. And what is that question or comment that you might have for Shaka?
I just want to ask, what's your favorite accomplishment out of everything that you've accomplished since you've been out, man?
That's a great question.
That's an incredible question. I would say my greatest accomplishment, man, being a dad, being a dad and how I show up as a dad. I have a 32-year-old son who I don't have a great relationship with because I was incarcerated most of his life. And I have a 12-year-old who lives here with me in LA. I'm from Detroit, but I live out here in LA. And when I think about my experiences as a dad with both of my sons, my oldest son, even though we don't have the best relationship, the thing I'm so proud of about that relationship is that I have been so emotionally open and transparent with him. I have created space for us to just grow and understand each other. And even though things aren't ideal and optimum, he still calls me or hits me up when he needs money. So, it's typical parenting life. But also had this incredible 12-year-old that I'm fortunate to be able to raise. And right now we're going through a very tough time because he just got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And when I tell you, it was the hardest thing for me to navigate as a parent, because ultimately as his dad, I wanted to protect him from the life that I lived. And I never wanted him to lose the innocence of just being able to be a kid and not have a care in the world. And unfortunately, type 1, and the creator decided, hey, there's something different in play. But the way that I've been leaning in emotionally, and just seeing how that really gives him that confidence really is the greatest accomplishment is just being a dad.
That is awesome. Thank you for that. Give him a hand for that. We're going to go inside Nevada Department of Corrections. We'll go out to Gene Conservation Camp. Please step up. Tell us your name and what is that question or comment that you might have for Mr. Shaka.
Hi, my name is Monique. I caught a lot of reflection in your testimony about reflecting on not just why we're here, how we got put here, but while we're here, what we can make of ourselves. So in your Rick, what superpower did you gain?
I would say, and she said, in what superpower did I gain throughout my incarceration?
Yep.
Yeah.
I gained a couple of superpowers. I'm gonna just tell you, I'm actually really super dope. So I'm gonna just tell you that now. I gained a few superpowers. But one is just a master of the written word. That skill set and the ability to tell stories truly is a superpower. I would say one that I value even more so than that is the ability to really navigate the emotions of other people who are going through adverse obstacles and tough times, and like the patience and the willingness to lean into that. I didn't know that was something that I would ever get to. I didn't know if I would ever get to a space where I can be empathetic and compassionate toward other people. I was a hardened kid. I grew up in the streets. The streets are hard. I'm sure all of y'all, know that experience, know from experience how hard it is to think about other people when you've been hurt and let down so many times. But I'm so proud that I'm a thoughtful friend and people, really can rely on me in a meaningful way. So thank you for that. That was a great question.
Yeah, great question. Give him a hand for that. And then we're going to go inside Southern Desert Correctional Facility, and then we'll come back to the headquarters. So Southern Desert, step up, tell us your name, and what is that question or comment you might have for Shaka?
My name is Lamont Boulder. First off, I want to say happy birthday to my daughter, Alana. Happy birthday, princess. Birthday's on Friday.
Her birthday and my birthday the same day. Oh, wait, it was this past Friday, 21st?
Yeah, this Friday, 28th.
Oh, the 20. Oh, 20. Oh, this one coming up. Okay, yeah. She a week after. She's still in June though.
Yeah. 8 going on 18.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to point out something that you said that kind of resonated with me, and it's just like it's easy to lose yourself in this environment, man, especially in solitary. And you were speaking on having to push your own dream, man. Like you can't depend on nobody else to really push your catalog, and doing the homie thing. It's easy to get set up and dependent on people or feeling like people owe you. You spoke on that too, and you set yourself up for disappointment. Moving like that. So that was a strong point you made. And there's a saying that goes, "It's easy to be a soldier when there ain't no war." You know what I mean? It's easy to be that guy. When you got all the help in the world. So I appreciate what you had to say, and it really touched us all, and I benefited from that. And so appreciate that, man. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you, bro.
Outstanding. We're going to come here to the Hope for Prisoners Billy Walters Center for Second Chance. You stand up. Camera's right over there. What is that question or comment that you might have? Look at the camera over there. Wave it, everybody. All right, go ahead.
My question is, for a long time, everyone has been adapting to your environment. What would be a tool to kind of figure out who you really are?
That's a great
question.
So
that's a profound question. The tool to figure out who you really are, it goes back to what I was talking about earlier with the journaling. When I first started journaling, I was journaling for myself. And one of the things I started with is like, whatever I write in here is going to be brutally honest. I'm going to be just as real with myself as possible. And I can tell you that just opened up so many layers of really having a deep understanding of myself. Somebody just asked me recently, like, do I ever walk into some of these rooms and feel nervous because I come from where I'm come from? And I'm like, I don't feel nervous because I know who I am at the core. And I know that most rooms I'm walking in, most people don't know who they is. They might know what their job title is. They may know what their household title is. They may even know what their community title is. But it takes a lot of work to get to truly know yourself in the most authentic way. And I can tell you it's ugly at first, but then it gets beautiful and it gets magical and it gets powerful because you know exactly what you're capable of and you know exactly what you can produce in the world, how you can show up, and you don't have all those insecurities that leads to a lot of erratic behavior and self-destructive behavior. So thank you for that question. It's a really great question.
Great question. We're going to come back here at the Hope for Prisoners headquarters. You step up and you wanted to do what? Yes, you can see him right over there. Go ahead.
Okay, so you were speaking about writing your books, and after like your fourth book, you fell into depression because you realized you didn't complete something. So when you finally did, what other key things did you use to like help you get out of that depression? Because before I went to prison, I was the girl that never completed probation as a minor, so being off of parole now, I feel thankful, but it's the first time like I completed something like that, and it sent me into depression. So
oh, that's good. That was a great question.
Yeah. No, it's a powerful question. It's a very emotional question, and I still have these moments where when I think deeply about all the things I've accomplished at this point, I get super emotional about it because I had these moments where I just never imagined that my life would be anything other than negative, And what I learned to do is that goes back to that spirit of gratitude, just being thankful, but also celebrating. Like you have to celebrate every victory, whether it's a publicly known, whether it's something your family know, whether it's something your person know. You have to celebrate it. So I celebrate all the things. I celebrate all the moments. I accept and really receive all the love and the feedback. And it's still work. Don't get me wrong. Like it's work. Like I have to consciously be like, hey, you're worthy of this. Like you've earned this. You earned your way off parole. That's a big deal. And it may not be a big deal to nobody else in the world, but for those of us who got off parole, it's a big deal. And it's a step. It's a step in the right direction. And like you have to pat yourself on the back. You got to applaud yourself. You got to wake up and hype yourself up You know, even when nobody else is around, nobody else is looking. That's when I hype myself up the most. It's like, yo, I'm about to go get it. I'm about to make it happen. I'm not stopping. If I can accomplish this one thing, I can be off and running. And that for me, just like finishing a book, and then it was like, wow, I did something. And then when I typed it up, I celebrated that. I was like, man, I typed this thing up. And then it was just on and on. I just kept celebrating the moments, celebrate those moments, celebrate those moments. So it's celebration and gratitude are two game changers.
That is so good. Give him a hand for that. Courtney, I'm sure that answered your question. We're going to be right back here at the Hope for Prisoners, Billy Walters Center for Second Chances. We are with one of the greatest leaders ever, Mr. Shaka. What is that question or comment that you might have for Shaka? You can take the mic. Just go ahead. Go.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's so inspiring. And thank you so much for investing yourself in yourself and then turning all that, everything that you experience and everything else to turn around and empower other individuals. Thank you, because we really need that in our community. So I appreciate everything that you do for our community.
Yes.
No, I truly received that. And thank you so much for that beautiful gift. I truly received that.
All right. So if you're inside Nevada Department of Correction, you're watching on Facebook Live, make sure you drop that chat in the comment section. Chad is monitoring the comment section. Anybody over at Nevada Department of Corrections, please step up, tell us your name, and what is that question or comment that you might have for Shaka?
Yeah, you.
Hi, my name's Michelle. My question is, my question is, what are your books about? You said that you wrote a novel and that a children's book, but we never heard what they were about. And then also, how did you find inspiration to write them? Was it just from reading other books in your library, watching TV? Like, where did you get the ideas to write what you wrote about?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's actually one of my favorite questions. I love to talk about writing and books and the things that I truly love. I don't know if y'all can see my background, but I do have like my books over there. I don't know how to show them to y'all, but actually you can see my books. So I started off actually writing fiction, and I was writing detective stories first. I self-published those, and then I wrote a book called Writing My Wrongs, and that's writing with a W. About my life and my journey, growing up in the streets, growing up in prison, coming out on the other side of that. And then my last book was called Letters to the Sons of Society. Can y'all still hear me? I think my things might have disconnected.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my last book is called Letters to the Sons of Society, and it's a book of letters to both of my sons from different perspectives.
That is good, Shaka. Let's talk about the letters to the Sons to Society. If we wanted to purchase that book, where would we go to purchase that?
Yeah, those books are all available on Amazon, or you can go directly to Penguin Random House. So they're all available over there.
Okay, so anytime anyone ever comes on and wrote a book, Gloria, would you make sure you write those down so when we get back, we can order some of those to make sure that we get them inside the correctional facilities? Gloria, you there?
I also have this book as well.
Oh, he's on a roll now. What else you got?
Yeah. No, this book right here is called Composer,
Okay.
and it's a short book of quotes that I'm working to get to people in prison. That we're donating that book. We're just working out all the things, but it's a book. It has journal pages, and I'm a big journaler, and that was really important to me, is to make sure that we had. So you can see the journal pages, so you're able to write out your own thoughts. And but yeah, so I've been writing for a long time. Got tons of books over there on the shelf.
Well, that is so good. So while we're on some things you're trying to get into the prison, you want to take a few minutes to talk about what it is that you and I are working on so we can make sure we get it into the prisons?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm at a stage in my career and in my life where, you know, I really want to do more to give back in a more personal way. You know, I've done a lot of work over the years. I was the executive director of an organization called Anti-Recidivism Coalition here in LA. I worked at an organization called Cut 50 to reduce the prison population nationally. We started with a goal to reduce it by 50%. We got that down to 20%. You know, I've taught at the University of Michigan. I've been a Kellogg Fellow. I just finished up another fellowship at Virginia Tech. Executive Leadership Fellow. I've been a Kellogg Global Fellow. And I'm just at a point in my career where I try to just do things that move my spirit, you know, and I really want to give back in a meaningful way. And I know how much words and books meant to me. So I have a project. It's a 1,000,000 book donation project where I wrote this book. It's just a bunch of quotes. It's beautifully illustrated. And I was intentional. I wanted the book to look like a beautiful little coffee table book because I think people who are incarcerated deserve beautiful things too. And I wanted that beauty to accompany the beautiful words that I'm sharing. And our goal is to donate 1,000,000 of those books to people who are incarcerated all throughout the country. And I want to definitely do that in Nevada. So I'm fortunate that John and I will come together and make that happen.
Man, I am looking so forward to it. Can we give him a hand for that? He said he wants to donate 1,000,000 books to people that are incarcerated. Looking very forward to bringing that here to Nevada. If you want to step up, look over in the camera. Man, he's got a whole notebook full of stuff. What is that one question or comment that you want to share with Shaka?
Well, we got to do one question. So first, it's an honor to be able to be here and to meet you. I recently just got out April, and I actually participated in ARC. So I know a lot about you, just word of mouth, and Sam Lewis and Jamel Carter going into prison. So I'm sure you're aware of some of the names I mentioned. One question, since I have to make it one. You said something which was really, really important to me. I live by it, and that's in order to make a difference, you got to do something different to make it. I feel like this is a great time to expand on that. Being that not only the people that are within this room are previously mostly incarcerated or have went through some challenges, but the ones that are also inside right now and listening. So it's the work out here will be a repetition of the work in there. Yes. And I would really, really gladly appreciate it if you can expound on that, because it was everything that led me to being in this room today. And so when most people think that the work starts when you get here, it's far from that. And you have to be willing to work while you're in there in order to see what it is that you're going to do when you're out here. I'm talking planning, vision board. I'm talking mission statements. I'm talking, waking up and doing every single thing that I know you did. As an author myself, I know the challenges and the accomplishments of writing a book. I have a 30-day affirmation guide to positive thinking. It's called Words Are Rich. I would love to talk to you about that another time. But the question is, the work out here will be a repetition of the work in there. Can you please expound on that?
So good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a model that I live by. If you're going to, in order to set yourself up for success, you got to start doing it while you're in there. So when I was in solitary, I set my days up in there as if I was at a university. And so I would study like world history for 1 hour, philosophy for an hour, creative writing. And then I would give myself permission to read some fiction, throughout the night. But every day I was just working. And the same thing with writing. I wrote literally all day. I would just like handwrite, until I got to my typewriter. Once I got my typewriter, typed that up. I wrote down like literally everything that I wanted to accomplish, all the way to the color of the car I wanted, to the house, to the type of family dynamic. And when I tell you I have manifested everything almost down to the letter in some ways, which was like so amazing to me. It was like, man, when I go back and read my journals now, it blows my mind, like things that I wrote down that I wanted to accomplish that came true that I forgot I had even wrote them down. And so I say all that work starts in there. And then I'll give you a quick analogy. I always ask my mentees this. It's like, if I gave you $1 million to build a home and gave you the land, and everybody that inhabited the house you built got sick, at some point, when you start questioning the land that it was built on, and I say that to them to say this, is that in order to actually begin to build yourself up, you got to remove a lot of stuff. And that's what that journaling did. It allowed me to remove a negative narrative. It allowed me to remove self-doubt. It allowed me to remove self-hatred. It allowed me to remove like a lot of these things that were really standing in the way of me like growing. And I'm sorry, like I said, my son has diabetes, so his mother just called me. I'm just like, because he's here with me. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, but yeah, the short version is like that work really starts. It really starts inside, and then it leads to everything that comes once you get out here. Because once you get out here, the world is moving so fast, and other part, I'll say this about the work too. It's like when you deepen that personal work, it's easier to protect yourself from negative influences. Because if you have, when you get out, you're going to encounter those negative influences. That's factually true of anybody getting out of that environment, unless you move into a whole new place that you've never known existed. And it's like, what are you gonna do when that happens? What you gonna do when the homie's like, yo, come on, hang out?
Yep.
You know, what you gonna do when that happens? You know, if you're practicing sobriety, what are you gonna do when somebody says just one drink or just one hit off a joint? If you're not guarded from that, it's easy to get pulled back in. And I can promise you, the temptation will be there. Like nobody gets through this side out here without temptation. You know, there's going to come moments when the money not coming fast enough, the job is not calling back quick enough, and you're going to have a gut check moment. And if you've done the work, you may have that moment where you may even waffle a little bit, you know, but that work is going to call you back to your true self and what you know you're worthy of. And what I knew I was worthy of a life that didn't include being back in a prison cell.
That's right.
That didn't involve getting shot at as part of my employment, occupational hazard.
Right.
Like I was like, I want to wake up in a nice, beautiful home and just eat amazing food and have great experiences. And y'all should ask me about some of those experiences, because I think it's important to like talk about, as much as I can tell you about all the negative experience. I also think it's important to know what life on this side can really, really look like. So don't hesitate to ask the fun and funny. I think it's important to get that stuff in too. It makes us all humans.
Can we give him a hand for that? Because that's so very important. Understanding that we are creatures of habit. Everything that we do, if we do with enough consistency, we'll be irrevocably bound to that action. And I'm going to ask one of the leaders that's out at Southern Desert, if one of you guys would please make your way. I'm going to put you on the spot. This is a big test. One of the leaders step up. Okay, can maybe 6 weeks ago, Boss Man Brewster out of Houston, Texas, my man, he came into that unit, and what was that one bomb that he dropped in that room as it relates to what it is we're talking about right now? I think
you're saying basically stop teaching the little homies the wrong thing, start teaching them more positive instead of negative.
That's right.
You know, it starts with the youth.
He said, stop giving the little homies bad game.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I just want to say, my name's Malik Kendrick for one, and we're gonna send a prayer out for your son for his diabetes or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make a comment. I write books myself. I wrote all in total 12 books, and I completed 12 books, and I'm working on my 13th book right now as we speak. And I just feel like that's some good motivation that you said that. You know, I started writing right where you said you was right there in the hole. You know, in solitary confinement, I was in the same place. You know, and I talked to God. I said I need some help. I need some guidance. I'm tired of doing the same old things. I'm doing the same, just dealing with the same people, and I need to change my life around. And Lord and behold, you know what I'm saying? I woke up one day and it just hit me. You know, I've been writing ever since.
That's right.
So I just want to salute you for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Salute. Appreciate that.
Give him a hand for that. Give him a hand for that. There was someone else over here. I think there's somebody over at Casa Grande. You had a question or comment?
I'm listening.
Take a look inside the camera right there. What is that question or comment?
Hey, Shaka, I just, since being released, all these blessings and these miracles are coming upon me, and you were speaking on your story, how all these things were just falling in line and everything was happening. My question to you is what are some suggestions you have to maintain your focus, to get caught up in the whirlwind of everything that's going on around you, how to focus on the vision and not lose sight of what is truly important?
That's a great question. It's first of all, I actually just texted Chef Jeff and told him that you was here. So that Chef is my guy. But the way I've maintained focus, I'm gonna tell you, honestly, it's not hard to maintain focus when you know what you want. And think of it like this: when I was starting to reverse engineer the way I live my life, I realized that negativity and positivity works absolutely the same way. So the same way that you can magnetize negativity to you, you can magnetize positivity to you. And what it's driven by is your desire. Like whatever desire you hold the most is going where your focus is going to go. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're into, let's just say for example, like I'm into music, right? I love hip hop. So my natural inclination is to go figure out where hip hop is at. And when I'm focused and I'm locked in on something that I care about or that I'm passionate about or that I believe in, nothing can shake me from that. And that's how you have to start thinking about the different stages of success you want to get to. It's like, hey, am I locked in? Do I really, really want this? You got to do those gut checks. Because sometimes you may want the outcome that the thing produced and not necessarily the process. And that's a whole different beast. And so for me, I had to learn to love the process. I had to learn to love to be in all the moments if I love the thing enough, you know. And so that's the way I stay locked in. I just surround myself with stuff that remind me of my focus. I mean, you see myself back there. There's books. I keep saying, don't buy not one more book. And I literally just brought 10 books home like 2 days ago. You know what I'm saying? So it's I surround myself with the things I love. I surround myself with the kind of people that I love. And I try to live in that lane of just staying aligned with what I know that I want to accomplish and who I am.
Man, that is so good. We're coming up to give them a hand for that. We're coming up to the top of the hour. You good? Because I got another question over here.
Yeah,
top
I'm good.
Of the hour.
Hey, glory to God. Hey,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
one who when God said he gonna to fill the earth, we're here, So that was in Genesis. And thankful to be here. Well, I'm thankful to have, my grandma tell me don't pillow talk when I got out of prison, and I've been proving myself, so she can't say I was pillow talking. So thank you for being here, writing those books and all the stuff, Shaka. Man, God bless you. Keep going. Yeah.
Man, that's good. Give him a hand. Give him a hand. We're going to come back here and we're going to wrap it up here at the Billy Walters Center for Second Chances. Check, can you get the camera over here? Would you please tell us your name and what is that question and comment that you might have for Shaka?
My name is London Vining, and Shaka, I would like to ask you, how did it feel to get out of prison? How did it feel to just get back to your family and just get to reunite with all your family members?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I can tell you it was one of the most incredible experiences that I've had in my life. Just to see those familiar smiles and to like hug them without fear of somebody telling me I can't hug them, and being able to meet my nephews and nieces, that was like the best feeling ever. It was incredible to taste, home cooked food that was cooked with love again. Just to stand outside and just see trees, like things that I had took for granted that I even missed was like, man, I can actually hear a dog bark. I can see leaves and trees and flowers and plants, and it was like all of my senses were just really alive. And I try to keep that same energy, which is what keeps me just going, And John, I want to show the writers on the call a couple of things really quick about possibilities. So this is the first version of Righting My Wrongs. I did this book myself. And it led to this version, which is the one you'll find on the shelves. But this was out the trunk. This is what Oprah read, this version, not this version. Well, she ended up reading this version too. But this is the version that she read, self-published. I put my own money up to make it happen. I got out, hustled, sold it. And then it got translated into Mandarin. And so just understand, like, there's people in the country I haven't been to yet that are reading my work. And it's just a commitment to like the craft and the work, but really getting out there hustling and making my dream come true. And so I even have to remind myself of that I am living like parts of my dream. There's other things I want to accomplish now at this stage, but I'm still. I always make sure that I pay attention to like, hey, you're living your dream right now.
Yeah.
And
Man,
John,
we
I got more
appreciate it.
time if y'all need me. So
Okay. I just want to make sure we're going to honor your time. And I don't know if inside the institution you guys need to get back. You want to go another 5 minutes?
Yeah, I can do more. I can do 5 more.
Okay. He has a question inside the Billy Walters Center for Second Chances. You got to stand up if you can. You got to look at the camera right over there. What is that question or comment you might have for Shaka?
Just a quick question. You said right down to the color of my car in your journals. What color is your car, and what was the color in the journal?
Ooh, that's
okay.
Good.
So the car that I wrote down, it was a S550 Mercedes Benz gray, and the one that I ended up with was a this is a few cars ago. I've been out here 14 years now. I'm probably on like car number 8, but at the time when I wrote that, I was in prison. When I got out, the first Benz that I got, it was a CLS 550, and it was a matte gray. So it was just one. It was off by a couple of letters, but that car, I was like, man, it blew my mind because when I went to get it, it wasn't even a car that I was actually going there to get, and I just ended up choosing that gray one because I loved it so much.
Great question. Great question. Inside Nevada Department of Corrections, anything else? Step up.
how's it
Tell
going,
us your
Shaka?
name. We're on overtime right now.
I read your book about 3 months ago, and it was a wonderful testimony how you found love from in prison and your whole story, and how they made your visit. They transferred you the night before your visit and everything, and all the way up to when the MIT Media Group found you. And just thank you so much for your time and your testimony. You're doing everything that is noble, and we appreciate you.
Oh,
I truly appreciate that. And the update is that, her and I broke up some years ago, but we have an incredible son together.
Okay. Well, that is awesome. So as we come from the top of the hour, was that good or was that good? That was good. So if it was good, if you are able, would you get up on your feet and really salute Shaka Senghor right now, man?
Oh man, appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Man. Thank you for being that awesome leader that you are. Thank you for leading the way. One of the things that you said that really resonated with me was when you came home, you felt like you had a million other people on your back. So thank you for carrying the load. We know that it has not been easy, and we know that you have pushed to continued success in all of your endeavors. I look very forward to working with you to bring your books and your curriculum here to the state of Nevada. And I know it is going to make a huge impact. So want to sign off right now. Shaka, we got to keep you on the short list. Want to say goodnight to the folks inside Nevada Department of Corrections, Gene Conservation Camp, Casa Grande Transitional Facility, Southern Desert Correctional Facility, Clark County Detention Center. Cannot forget the City of Las Vegas Detention Center. Everyone who's watching on the Hope for Prisoners Facebook Live, our YouTube channel, and everyone who had joined us on LinkedIn. Also, of you guys here who have gathered here in the Billy Walters Center for Second Chances, we thank you guys so very much. Give yourselves a hand. Good night. God bless you, and we'll see you next week. Shaka, thank you, sir.